Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or just starting out, High Lift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family, and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now, on to the show. Hello and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. And I'll tell you what, getting into 2024, I'm hoping everybody's having a great start to the year. So I was just on a previous episode, I kind of hit some bullet points on things to do to build value in your business. Start preparing for your transition before you're ready to actually transition. And one of those areas, and I think it's a vital area because it's the one I find a deficiency with most of the shop owners that I run into, is this idea of a personal vision. What would your life look like outside of the business? And again, when shop owners are looking to transition, a lot of times they get frozen because they don't know they have no idea what their life's going to look like. What am I going to do with my time? And it's actually interesting. I just was reading a study from the Exit Planning Institute, which they've done a number of years. And it's funny, the statistics are pretty consistent over the years that 76% of business owners a year after the sale of their business regret having sold it. And I think I see that a lot in the collision industry. Why? Because a lot of guys and women have worked on cars all their lives and they've never really, they've never really thought about what does life look like after the business. So that's one of the first steps I usually take with clients, is this idea of helping them to develop a personal vision statement. So how does that work? I mean, I think all of us kind of struggle with what we want our lives and life to look like, not only for ourselves, but for our family. And I think really the first place you've got to start is kind of look at what you're currently doing, and then post exit, what would your life look like? So I think the first thing is you need to put time frames on when you want to be free. First, of the day-to-day responsibilities of the business. And then second, when do you want to exit entirely? Now, again, there's no right or wrong answer to these questions. I think it's really what's personally for you. I run some that say, I want to be free of the day-to-day responsibilities in the next, 1 to 3 years and completely exit by the next 5. I've got some that say, look, I want to be free of the day-to-day responsibilities as soon as possible, but I have no intention of completely leaving. I mean, one of my clients, he's really big on building culture in his people, and he's got very high level thinking. And so what we've done is we've basically been working with his son and key employee to take over more of the day-to-day operations, and been doing more of a restructure of the business so that he's more of kind of the CEO, the big thinker, the visionary. And really what his passion is working on culture. So he doesn't really want to completely exit the business. I've got some that are completely burned out and say, I need out. But again, even when you do that, we need to figure out, how do we fill those, 40, 50, 60 hours a week that you had filling that business. So we want to look at first the time frame, and then we've got to look at from a funding standpoint. So where do you stand on your personal assets, retirement plans, individual assets, annuities, trust, anything that you're receiving income from now? And then look at how much income do we need to live the lifestyle that we want. Usually what I like to do, and I'm going to actually backtrack a little bit on that, is we need to figure out what that life looks like. So I think the first thing is we kind of, and this is kind of the exercise that I go through with clients. I said, okay, so let's look at a typical week or a typical month. All right. What would your day look like? Okay, let's assume 8 hours of sleep. Let's just assume that. All right. So what does the rest of the day, how many times you're going to eat? How much time do you spend doing that? What are some other things that you want to do? Do you want to exercise? Okay, let's put, an hour or 2 hours in for that. And we start building out the day. And then we start to find where gaps are. Because a lot of times people think, we always say we're so busy. And then we do this exercise and we find, I don't always have, I said, what do you mean? I have like 3 hours a day that's unaccounted for. Usually that's time that slips through the cracks. But I think, when we start to see these large gaps, we've got to figure out, how do we fill those times? And again, Maybe as a collision person, you still want to work on cars. Maybe you have little personal projects, or maybe you'd like to take on friends' restoration projects or things like that. And so maybe having like your own little bay to do those little projects, and how many hours a day are you going to do that? So we start to kind of develop what this lifestyle looks like, and then we have to figure out how much income, or how much are we going to need in personal living expenses. All right. And I like to look at it from a post-tax standpoint first. All right. To be able to live this lifestyle, because then once we do that, now we can figure out what we're going to need. Is there a gap that's there? So especially once, if we do a valuation on the business, maybe there's a gap. Maybe we need $5 million to live the lifestyle that we want. And when you have, say, $2 million in personal assets, but the business is only worth $2 million, well, now we've got a gap. We've got to figure out how we're going to fill that gap. And so that's where, again, building value in the business comes in, which I've addressed. And we'll talk about that more as the year goes on. First off, getting a framework of where we're going to fill our hours, and really doing a deep dive. And what are we passionate about? Do we want to travel? Do we want to fish? Do we want to golf? But even like fishing and golf, you can only do so much of that. I mean, I had one guy who loved the deep sea fish, and I said, okay, so how much can you do that? He goes, well, I can only do that like 1 or 2 days a week, because it's just physically straining. I mean, so it's like 4 or 5 hours, 2 days a week. That's only 10 hours. What are we going to do with the rest of our time? So it's really about kind of figuring out what we're going to do with the rest of our time. I think the other thing we got to look at is, what are some of the material assets that we want to have? Do we want to have a vacation home or a new home? Do we want to have cars? Do we want to have a boat? Do we want to have an airplane? Do we want to be able to travel? And like, I want to do an overseas trip every year, something like that. I mean, so these assets, and kind of looking at those things, and what are the cost of those items that you want to have. I think, again, travel is a big thing. If you want to travel, where do you want to go? I mean, I think the biggest thing is put together a bucket list. My coach has us do that all the time, and we need to start looking at, what are the things we want to accomplish in life, and where are we going to slot them in? And then I think, if you retire debt free, what annual income you're going to need. So now we've kind of developed, well, here's kind of the lifestyle that we want, and figuring out first the basics: food, daily living, travel, hobbies, sports, interests, charity, any of those type of things. And then these other items, these bucket list items, where are we going to fit those in? There's another area that is not financially driven, but it is time driven. And that's the non-material things that affect you. Things like family, community, our churches, are there causes that we were excited about? I mean, one of the guys I'm working with, wants to do a mission. He wants to go on mission trips, and some overseas and some locally, but he really, he's very connected to his church, and those are the type of things that he wants to do. That's really kind of the next step, as far as kind of figuring out what this personal vision is. And then we want to do what's called a personal vision balance sheet. And that's really kind of looking at, what does our current life look like? And then what do we want our goal to look like when we exit? So looking at, what are our current working hours per week? And then, before exiting, if we want to start backing off, what does that want to look like? And again, comes from the time frame that we put on, when do we start backing off from the day-to-day responsibilities? How much vacation time do we want? What do we currently have? What do we want to have? I mean, I got a guy I'm working with. He takes about 4 weeks a year. He wants to up that to 8. I'm trying to push him to 16. Okay. So anyway, but I have to stretch his thinking a little bit. That's part of the process. That's where having a coach in all of this helps. What does he have currently in liquid assets? What's he's going to need in liquid assets just before exiting? Any major access? Looking at company value. Where is it currently? What do we need to get it to be able to have this type of exit? So once we've kind of broken down all these things, we have to evaluate really our end goal. All right. And so what are we trying to do if we want to get equity out of our business? Do we want to squeeze every dollar that's out of it? Do we want to maximize the amount? If we're looking to maximize the amount, maybe a internal sale is not always the best thing. Maybe we want to look at a third-party sale. But again, with a third-party sale, we better make sure that we're building the value that's going to make it attractive to that outside buyer. If we're just looking to meet retirement objectives, but not really concerned about the value at all, we want to build the value up as enough so that when we do an exit, we ensure that we have enough income coming in to meet the lifestyle that we want. Or do you just want to get as much or as little as I can? I've got enough assets. I'm really can live the lifestyle that I want. Then what do we need to do from there? And then I think once you've kind of got this stuff, what I like clients to do is to actually physically write out what their personal vision is. What does life look like after business or in that next phase of life? And really just kind of almost write it in either bullet form or paragraph form. That's what's really going to solidify that vision to you. About 12 years ago or 13 years ago, when I started working with my coach, one of the things that attracted me was that was the one question that he told me. He said to me, if retirement was not an option for you, how would your life and business be different? And it kind of struck me. And so I spent a lot of time kind of working on that. And I developed this personal vision, and it's evolved over time. Okay. But getting that initial vision down has then, in my case, has allowed me to start working toward that. And so that's exactly the type of process that I like to coach my clients through is, again, to start to get them, helping them to develop a framework. And then, okay, I need you to ponder this and really kind of write out what that personal vision looks like, what you want your life to look like. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things that we take for granted in life is that we have control over our own destinies. And we allow a lot of times life and business to kind of get in the way. And we think we have no control, but we really do. And it's really about controlling the 6 inches here between the ears. So hopefully that was helpful for you. Again, if you have any questions on this or like, Matt, I want to kind of dive into this a little deeper, go to my website, highliftfinancial.com, click on the Let's Chat button. I give everybody 20 to 30 minutes of my time just to talk about your situation, see if there's ways that I can help. If I can't, or it's just not a fit for us, no worries. I mean, the one thing I always promise is I'm going to provide some type of value to you. But I think really just having a conversation will help you get the direction that you need and allow me to kind of give some guidance to that. So anyway, go to my website, highliftfinancial.com, and just click on Let's Chat and you can get right on my calendar. So with that, I hope to talk to you guys real soon. Thank you for listening to Your Business, Your Life. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. That way, when a new episode drops, you'll automatically get it. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button. And in any case, if you like what you're hearing, give us a 5-star review. That way, anytime, we move up the charts, we can get to more people with some of the content that we're trying to provide. So with that, again, I want to thank you for listening to Your Business in Your Life. Take care. God bless. And let's make 2024 a great one. Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of High Lift Financial. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investment, legal, or tax advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professional with any questions you may have regarding your business or personal planning. DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC, DBA High Lift Financial, is a registered investment advisor. Registration with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission or any state security authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training.